All right, guys, in this video, we're going to be doing a brand breakdown, and the model I've chosen for this video is going to be none other than Sophie Rain, probably the most popular OnlyFans and well-known OnlyFans creator in the space. Today, I'm going to be breaking down what her marketing team is doing and some things that I see as an OnlyFans manager from my point of view and what I would do to potentially improve the amount of traffic and attention that her brand gets overall on Instagram. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I noticed when just looking at her page briefly before even starting this video is that when I tried to search her, it was actually somewhat difficult to find her. So team might want to look at this, but the way I had typed her out with Sophie Rain and her profile actually didn't even appear for me in this type of search. You have to put in the double I. Obviously, when you have a profile that big, it presents a big risk to change the username because people get accustomed to the username and they search and type for that exact thing. But if I was starting this brand from scratch, or let's say even from like a position where she had less than maybe 15K, 50K followers, I would potentially change the username so that it is more easily searchable. And for somebody who's like a normal dimwit who goes to OnlyFans and jerks off all the time, they're probably going to type out Sophie Rain as I did here. So what I would do is I would actually spell her name like this and then put something on the end of it if it was unavailable, like a Sophie Rain only, Sophie Rain X, Sophie Rain IG, Sophie Rain, blah, blah, blah. I would have spelled it in this way and then added additional things on the name. Because as you notice, as you type it out, different options come out here. And the names that are most likely to appear typically on Instagram would be the names that show up in the way that I typed it. Now, in this situation, we change it and now the profile appears, okay? Just take that into consideration when you're building out your models pages and you're launching new pages, that you're looking at the searchability of their username, because not only is it going to be the searchability that comes on platforms like Instagram or X, but also the tendencies that the audience will tend to pick up when they search your username. They will also take it to other channels with them, and they'll even do it on a Google search. Now, her brand is so big that even if I type in Sophie Rain like this, she's going to show up. But for some of you other guys that have smaller models or new models that you're starting, your model may not show up unless it's typed exactly in the way that the customers that you have are typing it, or the people who are searching for your model are typing it. So just be very cognizant of the fact that, like, hey, the way you spell your name and the way that it's laid out on social media, the username, the domain, so to speak, Instagram/Sophie Rain, is going to be the habit that your audience is going to pick up in terms of searching for her online, whether it's Google search, OnlyFans, Twitter, or whatever channel it might be, okay? So now let's kind of dive into Sophie Rain, the creator, and what I see on her Instagram page, okay? So obviously, they've done an amazing job filling out 8.6 million followers. In here, they put her location and her age. The age is fine, I believe, because it's somewhat of a selling point for them on the fact that she's a young girl and she's trying to attract, men who are into this teen, juicy look that she's got going for her. And I think location is okay. It will make the model seem more believable and like a real girl next door, but also at the same time, you may cut out some of the potential subscribers that you would get from just not mentioning anything here, because maybe guys in California will perceive this as like, oh, she's all the way in Florida, there's no opportunity for me there, right? Rather than positioning her as a girl, like, hey, age, and then maybe like something about her, something witty, something smart, something funny, then having multiple locations tagged in her profile. So maybe she's in Florida one day, California the next, Texas the next. Then she seems more like accessible to all guys on the United States portion of the map, maybe even Europe if you want to go to Europe and take some content there. And that it seems more like she's a travel girl. She's available in all locations rather than just segmenting her out to Florida. Now, this is really like nitpicky stuff, but these are just things I think about and I try to get into the brain of the customer every time I build out a model and we launch a model. And these are the things that I've initially noticed. Now, the big thing that I would definitely not do on her profile is adding the snap here. For me, I see no benefit to adding the snap here. There's a lot better things that we could do with this portion of the about here, because all you're doing here is you've gotten someone to your IG page and now you're saying, hey, instead of absorbing all the content that I have here on Instagram available to you, why don't you go look at my Snapchat instead? And it just adds friction to the overall experience that a user is going to have, rather than, hey, I'm on your Instagram now, let's spend time together here on this channel where you've come to me and found me. Now, I do kind of understand the idea behind like, okay, I'm going to promote my Snap and try to build my Snapchat as well. The issue with that is that that is already available here when the customer or the user has made an action by clicking on the link and saying that, okay, I'm ready to leave Instagram and go somewhere else. if they were interested in the Snapchat, they would be able to find the Snapchat here. And again, they've put it here, which I don't really agree with. I would like to ask them potentially why they did that. I guess maybe they see Snapchat as a very important channel to build out the celebrity appeal that they're going for. But I think for most of you normal guys who manage normal girls who don't have 6-7 figure ad budgets to spend, it doesn't make any sense to promote a Snapchat unless you're looking for the celebrity appeal that they've obviously been going for here with Sophie Rain. Okay, so what would be better here? I would say some kind of description about her interests, like strong branding within her profile of like, she obviously enjoys the beach and doing dances. So I would probably put something like, I live at the beach, or follow for my adventures through Florida, if you're going to stick with the Florida theme, or something like that, right? And then some kind of call to action. Don't always have to put a call to action, because I do think in OnlyFans, it's not as necessary as in like some other business, like maybe e-commerce, where you really have to force people down your funnel. I think more on OnlyFans side of things, it is a good thing to have a call to action, but again, you're building personality and connection here, and like telling people to do things isn't always the way to build an emotional connection with somebody, right? You want them to discover the links sometimes. So call to action, I would say yes and no. Both are okay in this situation, but I would definitely not be promoting the snap. Now moving along here, I was reviewing this Sophie Rain brand breakdown video before I post it, and two things I noticed rewatching the video. Number one, about Snapchat and why her team's pushing to Snapchat. I believe that they're doing that because they are trying to grow her following on there and get more views and get paid for their Snapstar program. But basically they get paid per views on Snapchat. So I think that's the number one thing that they're trying to do. Obviously, if you're managing a creator who's not like a superstar celebrity like Sophie Rain, it would not be recommendable to push traffic to Snapchat unless you're in the Snapchat Star program and getting paid for views. The second thing I want to bring up is I mentioned a little bit that I wouldn't do the Florida location. I actually think, looking back on this now, it can be okay. It's like an either or type thing. Like either you could put the location if it's Florida, California, Texas, whatever, or you don't put one at all. I see the argument for both sides. I still lean on the side of no location because you want to have the mystery and the intrigue seeming to be accessible to everybody in the United States or across the world. But I can also see the argument that, hey, if you tag Florida, then the guys in Florida are more likely to develop an emotional connection with the creator, want to follow more and subscribe more. So I can see that side of the argument as well. Want to throw this in here for those who are watching. And yeah, thank you. We're going to go over the actual content. So you'll notice with her content, a lot of it is pretty basic. I think a common thing that happens with OnlyFans management is a lot of people will think Sophie Rain and they think like the pinnacle of OnlyFans success. And then they assume that if they just copy what she's going to do, that they're going to have similar results. Although I think she's made nice improvements in the last few months to her content, it's not something that we want to completely mimic because Sophie Rain starts from a completely different position than what most of your creators are currently at, right? She has 8.7 million followers. She's been in the game since 2020. She's built a brand and a name for herself because she's been in the game for so long. And she does a lot of things outside of what you see in the content, like some of the simple stuff where it's just like her filming, not really showing personality on camera. She's just utilizing her looks and her asset in this type of content, which is fine. And it fills the feed. It gets guys thinking about her and remembering her. But this isn't the content that makes her so successful. And I think what makes her so successful is the fact that, one, she has such a large following, right? And they've spent millions of dollars on ads to build her name and build her profile. I think if you look at it here, you won't see it. But when I looked at her account on mobile, for those of you watching this video right now, just pull up your phone and go ahead and look at the tagged section. They're still buying a lot of ads. You don't see it here, but the ads will come through. They'll appear for like 24 hours, 48 hours, and then the ads will get taken down. So a lot of her traffic and her views on her video still come from, I believe, external sources, external traffic, because it's not only the content that's driving all the visibility for her page, it's also external factors, right? Media, whether she's on TV or on podcasts or ads that her management company is buying. And all of these things add to what I believe is the reason why she's able to post kind of some basic stuff and still get like 1 million views on her video with the 8 million followers, right? So she's still getting like that 10% reach. For those of you who don't have access to a model who has millions of followers and like media collaborations and things like that, you'll need to do things differently on your profile to make sure that your content is getting good views. What I would recommend is doing things that, involve the model attracting a specific type of audience, whether it's a niche or like a fetish or some type of pocket or a community of people who are really interested in the content, so that you're going beyond just the pretty girl look and you're doing something that's going to keep people engaged and viewing, right? Now, I think Sophie Rain has made massive improvements to her content since like last year. Now you can see that she's doing more of a celebrity type of approach where she's appearing on podcasts, as we've mentioned here, which is interesting. I think podcast content is always going to do really well. She's doing collaborations with other big celebrities, other big names. So when they post a video, they're essentially using each other's audience to expand their reach, which is great. Of course, there's some of this other stuff too, like this public skit content that does really well. There's other people in the videos that make it more of a social media content, more of a collaborative environment rather than just a standalone girl. And that is why that they post this once in a while, because it's hard to just always be able to post this type of day in the life in the farm podcast content, right? Because it requires cooperation with other people. I think a lot of this is sort of like filler and builds her name. It makes it more her profile while also bringing in those extra collaborations and creators that can kind of feed into each other and help each other grow. So overall, that is my take on Sophie Rain's brand and her funnel and her Instagram. Hopefully you found this breakdown helpful. And I think if you're going to go for like the general girl next door approach, if you're not going to hit a niche or have some type of community that you're attracting, whether it's like country folk or, you know, basketball or whatever, golf or whatever it might be, then I think this is the way that you would build a girl next door brand today, with sort of like, hey, I'm a regular girl that you can still meet, but now I've gotten really cool friends. I do interesting things. I go on podcasts, travel to great locations and things like that. So all props to Sophie Rain and her team. Of course, they're killing it. Everybody talks about them, but that is my view on the Sophie Rain brand. If there's any questions on this, feel free to leave a comment below, and thanks for watching.